Rapidly losing pressure. The incredible landing of American Airlines 1572. Captain Thomas Graves had spent the last 2 decades in the cockpit of airplanes, flying over oceans, mountains, and cities. His precision and calm demeanor had earned him the respect of his crew and passengers. On this day, however, he was about to face the ultimate test of his skill, character, and leadership. Flight 1572 was a routine journey from Dallas to Hartford. The morning sun bathed the Boeing 737 as it climbed steadily to cruising altitude. The cabin was alive with chatter, the clinking of coffee cups, and the occasional laughter from the passengers. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary. But as the aircraft reached 32,000 feet, an alarm pierced the cockpit. A sharp warning light illuminated the words, "Cabin pressure drop." Thomas immediately felt a shift in his ears, a subtle yet ominous sign of what was happening. "Captain, we're losing pressure rapidly," First Officer Maria Ellis reported, her voice calm but tense. "Don your oxygen masks," Thomas instructed as he grabbed his own. He activated the emergency descent protocol, steering the aircraft into a controlled dive to a safer altitude. The cabin descended into chaos. Oxygen masks dropped from above as passengers scrambled to secure them. Flight attendants, trained for emergencies like this, moved swiftly to reassure everyone. Despite their professionalism, fear was evident in their eyes. "Mayday, mayday," Thomas called into the radio. "This is American Airlines 1572. We're experiencing a rapid loss of cabin pressure. Requesting emergency clearance to the nearest airport." Air traffic control responded immediately, directing them to Bradley International Airport in Hartford, less than 200 miles away. The situation grew worse. The sudden drop in pressure had caused a crack in one of the cockpit windows, compromising visibility. To make matters worse, turbulence rocked the plane violently as it descended. "We can't panic," Thomas reminded himself, gripping the controls tightly. His mind raced through years of training, simulations, and experiences. He glanced at Maria, who was expertly monitoring the instruments and coordinating with air traffic control. In the cabin, a young boy named Ethan clung to his mother, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, are we going to crash?" he whispered. "We'll be okay," his mother reassured him, though her trembling hands betrayed her uncertainty. Nearby, an elderly man named Mr. Harris, a retired school principal, noticed the fear spreading among passengers. Drawing on years of calming anxious students, he spoke up. "Everyone, let's focus on breathing slowly. We're in good hands. Panic won't help us." His calm demeanor had a ripple effect. Passengers began to mimic his deep breaths, and the chaos subsided slightly. As the aircraft approached Bradley International, Thomas and Maria faced another challenge. The landing gear was partially jammed, likely due to the turbulence and the pressure drop. The rear tires weren't deploying fully. "Gear failure," Maria muttered, shaking her head. "We'll land this plane," Thomas said firmly, though the odds seemed stacked against them. Thomas made a crucial decision. He informed air traffic control to prepare emergency services on the runway and address the passengers. "This is your captain speaking. We're preparing for an emergency landing. Follow the crew's instructions and brace for impact. I need you to stay calm. We will get through this together." In the cabin, the flight attendants demonstrated the brace position. Passengers held hands, whispered prayers, and braced themselves for what seemed inevitable. Despite the chaos, moments of humanity emerged. Mr. Harris noticed Ethan struggling with his oxygen mask and helped adjust it. A teenage girl handed her sweater to a shivering elderly woman. People who had been strangers just hours ago now supported one another. Thomas felt the weight of responsibility pressing harder with every second. He could see the runway ahead, but the thought of the damaged gear haunted him. A miscalculation could mean disaster. As the plane descended, Thomas used every ounce of his skill to study it. He approached the runway at an angle, hoping to minimize the impact on the damaged landing gear. The sound of metal screeching against asphalt filled the air as the plane touched down. Sparks flew, and the passengers screamed, but the aircraft eventually came to a stop. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the sound of emergency vehicles rushing toward the plane. Then, applause erupted. As passengers disembarked via emergency slides, many fell to their knees, kissing the ground or hugging their loved ones. Thomas and Maria were the last to leave the plane, ensuring everyone was safe. In the days that followed, the incident became a story of resilience, teamwork, and hope. News outlets hailed Thomas as a hero, but he deflected the praise. "I didn't land that plane alone," he told reporters. "It was a team effort, from Maria in the cockpit to the flight attendants and the passengers who stayed calm under pressure." For the passengers, the experience was life-changing. Ethan, the young boy, wrote a thank-you letter to the crew, saying, "You made me believe in heroes." Mr. Harris began volunteering at a youth center, inspired by the connections he had witnessed on the plane. Life is unpredictable, and challenges often arise when we least expect them. In moments of crisis, it's easy to give in to fear and chaos. But this story of American Airlines 1572 reminds us that courage, cooperation, and compassion can turn even the direst situations into tales of survival and hope. Captain Thomas Graves and his crew didn't just save lives that day. They taught everyone on board an invaluable lesson. When faced with adversity, our greatest strength lies in coming together.